In this episode of Building Blocks of Bharat, we are going to take a step forward in a study of the connect between science and architecture. We have already looked at the kinds of settlements. Hi, I am Sneha Gupta and welcome to our show. Today we will venture into one of the most stunning archaeological finds in India, the ancient sites of Dholavira, which is a part of the larger Harappan civilization.
As we approach the ancient site of Dholavira in Khadir Bed in the district of Kutch and Gujarat, the landscape begins to change dramatically. Shrub forests and fields give way to a vast, desolate, lunar landscape. These are stunning salt flats of the Great Rann and must have formed as the sea retreated, possibly because of huge tectonic movements that happened over 10,000 years ago. We move from the Rann and enter the Khadir Bed, one of India's larger inland islands. There are several geographical studies indicating that different environmental conditions prevailed here in the past. The Rann might have been under 10-meter deep water for 3,000 years, and the Khadir Bed could have served as an inland in the shallow sea. It is not clear why people settled on an island rather than on the mainland, where agriculture and other commodities, including marine resources, could be better exploited. The area of Rann probably could have served as a navigational water body which facilitated safe harbors for overseas trade with the Gulf countries and internal trade through riverine route which prevailed in the recent past. Even today, during the monsoon, the seawater comes in, cutting off Khadir from the Indian mainland. The summer heat then evaporates the water, leaving behind the salt on the Great Rann. Dholavira is located at the northwestern tip of Khadir Bed. The barren roads suddenly opens up to a vast expanse as Dholavira comes into view. Dholavira is one of the 5 largest Harappan sites to be discovered and is part of the Harappan civilization dating back 5,000 years. The great civilization of Egypt and Mesopotamia were its contemporaries and shared extensive trade links. The Harappan civilization is synonymous with the great planned cities of Mohenjo-daro and Harappa, which are now a part of Pakistan. Post-independence India has excavated hundreds of Harappan sites like Rakhigari in Haryana, the ancient port city of Lothal, and Dholavira. India discovered Dholavira in 1967 when they were trying to find the land route of the Harappans from Sindh to Kutch. But excavation began only in the year 1990. As each layer of Dholavira was carefully uncovered, the true significance of the site began to emerge. Lying buried for more than 1,000 years, this was one of the most immaculately preserved cityscapes found in the world.
Dholavira is one of the 5 largest Indus cities in the subcontinent. 5 are in Pakistan, only 2 are with us. Mohenjo-daro, of course, remains city par excellence. So far Dholavira is concerned, It is unique in the sense that it has added many a new facet to the personality of Harappan civilization. It has given a long stratified document in which we find the complete history of rise and fall of the Harappan civilization, covering a period of 1500 years, right from the turn of the 3rd millennium BC to the middle of the 2nd millennium BC.
As Arjun Bhagat walks towards the citadel of Dholavira, the imposing fortification surrounded by massive water reservoir greet him. In the midst of this dry, arid setting, Dholavira must have been a vibrant and beautiful city at the peak of its existence. The ancient Harappans planned the location of Dholavira from a strategic perspective to facilitate sea trade as well as environmental consideration. The island of Kadir gets patchy and infrequent rain, so for any civilization to thrive, it was imperative to store every drop of water.
First of all, it is a multi-partite city, having 3 main divisions: Citadel, Middle Town and Lower Town. I think this is the only city where we could recognize distinctly the different parts of the Harappan planning. A second aspect is the cascading series of water reservoirs provided all around the city, particularly on south, west and north. An integral part of layout of the city. They are well within the outer fortification.
It is no coincidence that Dholavira lies between 2 monsoon channels, the Manhar and Mansar. The landscape of the city is undulating and slopes towards the south. The site was therefore suited for a settlement with artificial dams and reservoir. The main features of Dholavira consists of a full-grown cityscape with the citadel, a middle town, a lower town, and a ceremonial ground surrounded by a series of water reservoirs, all set within an enormous fortification running on all 4 sides. Many of the Harappan cities were separated by thousands of kilometers. What then tied them all together? How can we be certain that they are all part of the same civilization? With each layer that archaeologists uncovered at Dholavira, some striking facts began to emerge about the Harappan civilization, from uniformity of city designs, highly advanced city planning with sewage systems, and advancements in stone cutting and polishing. Each of these towns have a similar pattern of city planning. In Dholavira, the most spectacular discovery is the existence of 3 separate cities: the fortified citadel, where the ruling elite evidently lived, and the middle and the lower town with the rest of the population. The town area of Dholavira was divided into a grid pattern. Wide streets ran north to south and east to west at right angles. Like many of the other Harappan cities, the towns were shaped like a parallelogram, and its layout based on ratios and proportions. The city of Dholavira is proportionate and based on the resolute set of principles of planning and architecture with mathematical precision. When measured between the inner corners, the east-west length of the city, areas along the northern defense walls, and north-south one along the western one worked out to 771.1 meters and 616.85 meters respectively, thus giving the precise ratio of 5:4. Similarly, the other division of the city also revealed amazing ratios and proportion. Take the castle, The internal walls are 114 meters long and 92 meters wide, maintaining the same ratio. The external walls measure 151 by 118 meters, with a ratio of 5:4 again. Different parts of the city have different ratios. For example, the Bailey is square with a ratio of 1:1, and the Middletown's length and breadth are in ratio of 7:6. And the ceremonial grounds proportions are 6:1. What does this show us? A fairly advanced understanding of architecture and mathematics. Further, the roads running through the city were of fixed width, around 9 meters for the main thoroughfares, 1.5 meters and 5 meters for the lanes on which most of the houses opened.
It is very interesting that in one of our architectural treatises written in Sanskrit, about say 3000 years later or more, we found all those ratios, proportions duly prescribed that we found at Dholavira. So this continuity is amazing.
Now we will take a short break. After the break, we have much more to explore. Welcome. We were talking about Dholavira. Let's continue our journey.
Let's now move from measurements to building materials. The refinement of buildings and materials used reveals a high knowledge of civil engineering. Buildings in Dholavira were made of sun-dried mud bricks, stone and wood. If one measures the bricks, they follow the ratio of 1:2:4 in terms of height, width and length. As we wander through the site, we also notice that many of the brick buildings were actually clad with stone. Archaeologists have also found the largest Harappan inscription in the chamber of the North Gate, with decayed fibers of a wooden board around it. Each inscription or sign is 37 centimeters long and 27 centimeters wide, and made up of pieces of faience primitive opaque glass. Harappan's inscriptions have not been decoded, but archaeologists believe this was a signboard at the gate to give a certain nomenclature to the settlement. 17 gates have been found in Dholavira, all built in the fortification walls. But the most elaborate gates are on the walls of the citadel on the east, west and the north side. Here, a number of skillfully sculpted and smoothened blocks of yellow and banded sandstone have been found. There are parts of pillars for joining the gate as well as the chambers. These were sourced from a quarry some 3 kilometers away, and we were able to find evidence of the work that went on here. The stadium at Dholavira, which is 47 meters in width and 283 meters in length, with a proportion of 1:6, is another remarkable structure with its terraced stands. It may be used for community gatherings, sports, or even as a market. Next, let us explore the meticulous water management of the city. The city planners of Dholavira realized that the best way to create a strong civilization was by managing water wisely. This drove them to develop a complex water system to service the city. They developed an ingenious system based on rainwater harvesting to support life in this parched landscape with scanty water. Relying partly on rainwater and little from the ground, a complex water system comprising of large rock-cut reservoirs was developed. They constructed 16 giant water reservoirs to surround the city on the western and eastern sides. This allowed storage of a staggering 2.5 million cubic meters of water. A simple calculation shows that for 15,000 inhabitants, more than 54 liters of water per day was provided by the city planners. Even today, not many places in India can match this figure.
Dholavira, I remember for its amazing water management system. It is really very, very efficient. We know that today Kutch is very, very arid. It's very arid. It is desert, like a rocky desert. The rainfall is always very, very erratic in entire Kutch. So monsoon failures are very frequent, and so are famines. That's why the Harappans created a cascading series of reservoirs on all three sides of the city. As I said, that the water reservoirs are not outside the fortification, they are well within the fortification. So we can say they were very good water engineers. And Dholavira, I think, most eloquent example of that. They made such a system as if not a single drop of rainwater should go waste. They wanted to catch every drop of that and preserve it in one of their reservoirs.
Many of these reservoirs have been cut out of solid rock. Some had steps built along the side to reach the water level, so people could walk down and fetch water. The floors of many reservoirs were provided with deep depressions or troughs where water could remain in exceptionally dry years. Dholavira was segmented into the upper and lower city. Owing to the upper city being located 13 meters above the lower, the reservoirs in the latter got filled up last. Interestingly, long before the Romans, the Harappans had constructed aqueducts to take the water from the reservoirs to the heart of the city, using the natural gradient. This water allowed the people of Dholavira to grow crops throughout the year. Copious amounts of wheat and barley was produced, which was traded via sea routes as far as Mesopotamia, located 3,500 kilometers away. An enormous step well has also been discovered in Dholavira. It is 73.4 meters long, 29 meters wide, and 10 meters deep, which makes it 3 times bigger than the Great Bath of Mohenjo-daro. This is the second largest water structure found in this region. On the top of the citadel is an extensive network of stormwater drains which has been excavated. These have been carefully designed to ensure that no flooding takes place within the confines of the citadel and that the water is carried into water reservoirs. Homes in Dholavira also had separate drainage which emptied into a common sewerage tank. Ironically, while the Harappans strikingly collected and stored each drop of fresh water thousands of years ago, in present-day Dholavira, no such provision has been made. Another interesting site within Dholavira is a huge circular structure that could be a cemetery. Unlike other Harappan sites, where the heads of the corpses point northward, here the graves face east or even northeast. However, the most curious fact is that nearly all the graves are empty. Though they all contained grave goods like pottery, beads and other precious items, The likely explanation is that they were memorials, not graves. 7 hemispherical constructions have also been found here. Many believe these to be cemeteries. In fact, one of the structures was designed in the form of a spoked wheel. While we were at Dholavira, a team from the Indian Oceanography Institute in Goa, under the Ministry of Science and Technology, Government of India, was hard at work conducting a preliminary survey to find evidence of a port on the outer edge of the Dholavira fortification, or perhaps within a few kilometers from it. Using echo machines and other equipment, they are hoping to discover the missing trade links. Archaeologists have already excavated and found thousands of fascinating artifacts: pottery, clay figurines and animals, beads made from lapis lazuli, gold, silver and shell, and the objects most associated with Harappan digs. There are weights and seals depicting bulls, unicorns and other beasts.
Right from the stage one, we found how copper was being smelted there. And in addition to that, we found some tools also. And there was bead making industry. So beads and shell objects have been widely used by the Harappans.
Like many other Harappan cities, the entire planning of Dholavira was planned on astronomical considerations. However, more work needs to be done to establish if the Harappan stone structures have any astronomical significance, if at all.
By 1800 BC, Dholavira disappeared from historic records, indicating that the civilization may have come to an end. Experts believe that Dholavira's survival is based on the tapping waters of the Ghaggar river, which was dammed to fill reservoirs. A powerful earthquake pushed the course of the river more towards the Ganges basin, leaving Dholavira high and dry. The area became arid and the vegetation changed. The giant reservoir slowly got filled with earth. What do we learn by studying these ancient sites? Well, we glean the understanding of how the people lived. They used technology, science and knowledge in everyday life. So that's all for today. I hope you liked our show. Don't forget to give your feedback on feedback@indiascience.in. We will see you again with some more informative topics. Till then, goodbye.